Did Troy Nehls accidentally expose why Republicans fear Jasmine Crockett's rise? Because what started as a personal insult didn't just backfire, it became Exhibit A of just how rattled the GOP actually is. Before we break down how Jasmine Crockett transformed a seemingly trivial attack into a strategic masterclass, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This story proves that sometimes the best political response isn't a counterpunch, it's a careful dissection of why your opponent felt the desperate need to swing in the first place. The interview setup was casual, almost intimate, the kind of conversation you could imagine happening in a well-appointed living room rather than a sterile studio. The host, a political commentator known for letting guests speak uninterrupted, opened by acknowledging what everyone watching already knew. Congressman Troy Nehls had posted a tweet that quickly went viral and was causing significant buzz in political circles. He held up a tablet and read aloud the tweet. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is reportedly considering a 2026 Senate run in Texas. She should run, Paxton would crush her. Texas doesn't want a radical left lunatic representing them in Washington. And that's the quote. How do you respond to being called a lunatic by a colleague? The host asked. There was a beat of silence. Crockett wasn't angry or shocked. Instead, she paused as if analyzing a complex problem, choosing her words carefully, signaling that she was about to take the long route, the route most politicians avoid because it requires strategic calm rather than reactive energy. My first reaction is that this tweet tells you more about Troy Nehls and the state of Republican politics than it does about me or my potential Senate run, Crockett began. And I genuinely mean that. It's worth unpacking, because it reveals a lot about the dynamics at play. She leaned back slightly, settling into her chair. The tone she adopted wasn't defensive, it was analytical, almost clinical, like someone explaining a phenomenon to students in a classroom. When a sitting congressman feels compelled to attack a colleague who hasn't even officially declared for a race, when he uses terms like lunatic instead of engaging with actual policy disagreements, when he confidently asserts that someone would lose badly while simultaneously encouraging them to run, that's what we call in politics, protesting too much. It's the behavior of someone who is worried, not confident. The host pressed, why do you think Troy Nehls is worried if, as his tweet suggests, Paxton would easily defeat you? Crockett's response was measured and data-driven. Let's look at reality rather than the narrative Troy wants people to believe. The most recent polling on a hypothetical matchup between me and Ken Paxton shows it at 49 to 47%. That's a 2-point margin in a state Donald Trump won by 5 points in 2024. That's not a landslide. That's competitive. And in politics, competitive races make everyone nervous. She referenced her own data. I'm leading the Democratic primary by 6 points. I have strong support among Black and Latino voters, two of the fastest-growing demographics in Texas. My fundraising numbers indicate I can compete financially. And most importantly, I'd be running against someone with significant vulnerabilities, Ken Paxton, who is facing multiple legal and ethical scandals, who was impeached by members of his own party, and who has left a sizable portion of moderate Republicans uneasy. The way she laid it out was methodical, step by step, building a clear picture of why the tweet wasn't a credible assessment of her candidacy, it was an attempt to shape a narrative. When Troy Nehls tweets that Paxton would crush me, he's not reporting reality, she explained. He's manufacturing it. He wants donors, volunteers, and voters to disengage by implying I'm unbeatable. But the data shows otherwise. This could easily be one of the most competitive Senate races in the country. The host turned to the lunatic label. How do you respond to that personally? Crockett's analysis revealed her understanding of modern political rhetoric. Words like lunatic, radical, extremist, aren't descriptions, they're tools. Their goal is to make voters see you as fundamentally other, as someone outside the mainstream, so your actual positions don't even need to be discussed. She leaned forward. Troy Nehls knows I'm not a lunatic. He knows my record, civil rights attorney, state legislator, congresswoman. He knows I've passed legislation, built coalitions, and governed responsibly. But if voters think I'm unhinged, he doesn't have to confront the fact that my positions on healthcare, reproductive rights, economic justice, and education are popular. She cited the numbers. 62% of Texans support protecting Social Security and Medicare. 58% support abortion access in most circumstances. 55% support raising the minimum wage. These aren't radical positions. But if Republicans can label anyone who supports them as a lunatic, they avoid discussing policy entirely, Crockett added. The conversation shifted to why Republicans were so focused on her, as opposed to other potential Democratic candidates. It's the coalition I'm building, she explained. Strong black voter support, growing Latino support, and increasing suburban women's engagement, these are the exact voters Republicans want to suppress. They've succeeded statewide by fracturing Democratic coalitions. But I mobilize the very voters they fear showing up. She continued, second, I've had viral moments holding Republicans accountable. I don't get intimidated. That makes me dangerous because Republican strategy often relies on Democrats being defensive or cautious. When you challenge lies and misinformation directly, it threatens their playbook. The host raised the contradiction in Nehls' tweet, why encourage her to run if she's supposedly going to lose badly? Crockett smiled knowingly. Exactly. If they truly thought I was easy to beat, they'd stay silent. You attack before someone runs only if you're worried. Preemptive attacks are about shaping perception, not reality. She emphasized the strategic cost of political attacks. They cost time, resources, and political capital. Nobody wastes those on an opponent they don't fear. The fact that someone like Troy Nehls, who doesn't even represent a district near mine, is attacking me shows Republicans have done the math. They know I could win, and it terrifies them. The host asked about Ken Paxton's candidacy specifically. Crockett's answer was sharp. Paxton is strong with the MAGA base, but vulnerable in a statewide general election. He's been impeached by his own party, faces federal investigations, and has whistleblower complaints from his staff. Even Republican voters have ethical concerns about him. This is about competence versus corruption. She added, if I run, the contrast is clear, someone who fights for families versus someone who's used office for personal gain. It's a narrative voters can understand, and it works to our advantage. Regarding Texas's political landscape, Crockett explained, Texas isn't trending red, it's trending purple. Romney won by 16 points in 2012. Trump by less than 6 in 2020. Even in 2022, Democrats performed strongly in difficult cycles. The electorate is changing, younger, more diverse, more educated. These are structural shifts that make competitive races possible, if Democrats can mobilize voters effectively. Returning to Nehls' tweet, the host asked if she felt these personal attacks were escalating. Crockett's response was revealing, this isn't new, but it's worsening. The goal isn't to win politically, it's to destroy credibility. When you dehumanize opponents, you make compromise impossible, governance harder, and political violence more likely. That's what these attacks signal. Finally, the host asked if the attacks made her more or less likely to run. Crockett didn't hesitate, more likely. Troy Nehls inadvertently revealed his fear. If he's scared before I've announced, it means I'm a threat. And if I'm a threat to people like him and Paxton, it shows I'm doing something right, building the coalition and message needed to challenge Republican dominance. She concluded, I won't run out of emotion. I'll run because data, polling, fundraising, coalition strength, and voter enthusiasm all suggest I can compete and potentially win. Republican panic reinforces that conclusion. Addressing those doubting a black woman from Dallas can win statewide, Crockett said, I understand the barriers. But someone has to be first. Voters respond to competence and experience, not identity stereotypes. They elected me to Congress because they trusted my record. And polling shows statewide voters respond similarly when they see my accomplishments. Her final, viral line summarized the lesson. Troy can call me whatever he wants. That reflects on him, not me. But insults aren't strategy. Name-calling isn't a campaign plan. Panic disguised as confidence is still panic. By calling me a lunatic, Troy Nehls only showed everyone how worried Republicans really are. The interview ended, but the political impact reverberated. Clips went viral, commentators praised her measured response, and even conservative analysts acknowledged her strategic handling. Nehls attempted a follow-up tweet, but now he was responding to her framing rather than controlling the narrative. Paxton's camp remained silent, signaling that they, too, understood the race would be competitive. Internal campaign data confirmed the strategy's success. Favorability rose among key voter groups, moderates, independents, and suburban women. The attack intended to weaken her had instead strengthened her position. As one strategist noted, nothing boosts a candidate more than being attacked in a way that makes them look reasonable and their opponent look unhinged. Jasmine Crockett had turned a simple insult into a masterclass in political strategy. Calm, data-driven, and articulate responses can neutralize attacks while reinforcing credibility and momentum. This moment exemplifies how preparation, clarity, and composure can outperform reactive anger in modern politics. If this breakdown showed you why calm, strategic responses outperform reactive attacks, hit the like button and subscribe for more political analysis. Comment below, do you think Republicans are justified in their concern about Crockett's potential Senate run? Share this video with anyone who wants to see how intelligence beats insults in politics.